My journey in Moonstone Island started out with many struggles. I had upgraded the wrong path of the skill tree, so I was stuck not being able to tame any spirits over level 5. This left me in a difficult position that made exploring very difficult because I could not win in combat. In addition to this, I could not get any new spirits or spirit types. I tried everything, but I kept dying in the Spring Temple and blacking out in every dungeon. Eventually though, by slowly leveling up my spirits in combat, I got my first egg to drop from defeating a spirit. It was a poison egg, and a few days later, it hatched into Marsha. Poison might seem unassuming at first, especially with the Poison Island being a beginner type island and most would have thought little of it. But upon entering combat, you would instantly realize that poison is no joke. The pesky poison stacks that whittle down your HP in battle are incredibly annoying to deal with. There's no way to get rid of them outside of potions, and they stack. A lot. So seeing how I would have to constantly flee in terror every time I encountered a poison spirit, I decided to use their weapon against them with my newly hatched Marsha. Of course, it wasn't easy to level her up, but I threw all my level points into vitality and armor just so that she would survive to the end of combat, and eventually, I got her leveled up. I knew Marsha was strong after using her, but I didn't realize just how strong she was. Marsha has a passive, Benevolent Bane, which allows her to apply AoE poison stacks to adjacent enemy spirits whenever she poisons an enemy. This allows her to poison every enemy spirit, even if she only poisons one of them. But more importantly, I had unlocked a card after leveling her up. Its name? Accelerant. Accelerant triples a target's poison stacks, effectively turning 10 stacks into 30. This sole card was the start of my quest to get huge damage. Of course, this only just started out as some fun. I was laughing with my friends who were watching me play as I pumped up the poison stacks to do some silly damage numbers, one-shotting dungeon bosses with over 100 stacks of poison. But this silly little charade had a darkness overshadowing the cute fun of this game. This darkness would slowly evolve into an obsession which would consume me for hours. But I was still unaware of what was looming over the horizon. And after a few in-game days, I scoured the Poison Islands to add someone else to my team. And then, I found the perfect spirit to tame. Ribbite. Ribbite the Frog Spirit applies poison stacks just like Marsha, and also has the tripling power of the Accelerant card, but Ribbite brings two more things of value to our poison team. 1. Ribbite has the passive Bouncing Bane. Bouncing Bane transfers poison from enemies that are banished to enemies that are still alive. This is incredibly important. This means that no stacks of poison on enemies that are banished will ever be wasted, and will allow you to stack poison on multiple enemies at once with Marsha's passive, and then finally combine all these stacks together at the end. With this passive, Ribbite was an obvious choice for our team, but this little frog has something else up his sleeve. His hidden weapon? Purify Poison. If Accelerant was not already broken it off with its triple effect, Purify Poison octuples poison stacks. That, my friends, is a factor of 8. Marsha and Ribbite each have 2 Accelerant cards in their deck, equaling a total of 4, where 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, or 3 raised to the 4th, equals 81. But with the Purify Poison card, that 81 octuples to a factor of 648. That means if an enemy spirit has just 1 poison stack, this can be exponentially increased all the way to 648 stacks using these multiplier cards. For reference, triple-digit damage in a single attack is already incredibly high, but I wanted to push the limits of the game a little bit further. Now, every good Moonstone alchemist needs a 3rd member in their party. As I continued my journey in Moonstone Island, I encountered a Psychic Storm. These are nightly events that cause psychic spirits to spawn. With what could only be described as fate, the first psychic spirit I stumbled across was a cute-looking pink slime wearing a witch hat. The mystislime. With how cute it looked, I of course needed it, and I quickly got to taming it, and upon successfully doing so, I immediately added it to my medallion. But behind that innocent little smile lies its true horrific nature, one that would shake the core of the very game's mechanics. Energy generation. In combat, you typically get to only start with 3 energy. This limits the number of cards you can play in a turn, and Psychic Spirits, however, have the card Enlighten. Similar to Accelerant, which triples poison, Enlighten in its upgraded form, Enlighten Plus, triples your energy. This allows you to play many more cards in your turn than you normally would be able to. However, the mystislime has two things that make it stand out from other psychic spirits. It has its passive slime skill, which generates 1 energy every 5 skill cards it casts. And secondly, it has a signature, secret rarity 5-star card, Mind's Eye. Most psychic spirits have the card Open Mind, which is a 0-cost energy card. And this card allows you to generate 2 energy. But its much stronger older brother, Mind's Eye, is a 0-cost energy card that allows you to generate 10 energy, which is 5 times the amount of Open Mind, and allows for an absurd amount of energy generation. And when paired with the Enlightened card, you can easily hit the 99 energy cap. Now, having maxed out energy is cool and all, but you will eventually run out of cards to play, and we need to solve this problem. We could of course use Marsha's Poison Whip or Mystislime's Meditate card for additional card draw, but there's an even better alternative. Momentum. Momentum in its upgraded form, Momentum Plus, allows you to draw 1 card every time you play a card. This means that you can play more cards than you have in your hand because you will keep drawing more every time you play one. Paired with the energy generation of the Mystislime, you will never run out of energy or cards to play, and you can cycle through your deck multiple times, effectively allowing you to play hundreds of cards, and in our case, allows us to stack our poison into 1 giant poison attack. So I decided to take this into practice, and I was hitting some pretty decent numbers. I slowly worked my way up from 100 stacks to tens of thousands of stacks. But sometimes the card RNG wasn't great, or I ran out of energy mid-fight. But most of all, the spirits I encountered could only survive so many hits before being banished. But who could survive the onslaught of my super team long enough for me to get as many stacks as I could? The Dark Island spirits. Towering over all the other islands in terms of combat difficulty, these spirits can reach upwards of level 60 plus, giving them much more health and armor than any other spirits. Typically, you would avoid these spirits at all costs, but for us, this was perfect. They could tank much more damage, which would allow me to stack much more poison than I normally would on the weaker spirits. Of course, this was all just theory, and I didn't really have any idea what the damage number could be. But what I did know was that it was a daunting test of luck and endurance. If your starting hand did not contain the momentum card and enough energy generation cards, you would not be able to combo all 500 of your cards together on the same turn. In addition to this, there is even more RNG. The spirits you encounter can spawn in 1s, 2s, or 3s, but in order to maximize our poison stacks, we needed to encounter 3 spirits. Also, when you break the armor of a spirit, they take 1.5 times damage, but if they're also weak to the element, they take an additional 1.5 times damage. Therefore, we not only needed to encounter 3 spirits, but we also needed one of them to have the poison weakness, so that we could get the additional damage multiplier. And so, I started on my grind. At first, I wasn't getting anything higher than my usual 10,000 stack runs, but after 5 hours, I hit it. 6 digits. I had broken the 100k mark, but I knew I wasn't done. I wanted to push for 1 million, and after a few more hours, I did it. A 1.99 million damage run. Let's just see what the damage number looks like. Oh my, almost 2 million, 2 million, 2 million. But the file corrupted. I was distraught. I also knew the run wasn't perfect. I had made a few mistakes when playing cards because I was tired from my previous attempts. Defeated, I went to bed. But the next day, I was greeted with a newer, invigorated passion that was much stronger than before. Motivated to hit the 1 million mark again, I began grinding. After a few failed attempts, where I came very close, I finally got this attempt. The cards had aligned. This is the run you've been waiting for. Let me do the math. 648 times 2128, that's 1.378944, so almost 1.4 million damage. And then he takes extra damage because he's weak to poison. So we might hit 2 million. Triple, first one. Triple, second one. Triple, third one. Fourth one. Alright. This is it. Octuple the poison. We can't see the numbers. I don't know what's happening. Okay. I'm ending my turn. This is it. The true damage value. Right here. Right now. 1 HP. Basically a perfect run. $3.1 million! And I crushed it. 3.1 million damage. An overkill number so high it would have deleted 18,000 more Evil Eye spirits just like it. And that is how I shattered Moonstone Island's damage world record. It was a great feeling, but I don't want to stop there. I want to explore other teams and other decks that might seem fun, so please leave me suggestions on what I should try next. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.